I'm John Oetjens, and welcome to Schooling Around. In 2014, if it's November, it's elections. You've probably grown tired of all the political spots that have interrupted your favorite TV shows as candidates and organizations attack each other and each other's issues. For the small-town local politician, there aren't millions of dollars to spend on advertising and promotions. That's where local forums come in to help educate us on who believes what so that we can know how to vote. Such a forum took place at Boulder Point last week with 8 of the 9 Oxford School Board candidates running for 4 vacant seats. OCTV is broadcasting the entire event at another time. This is just a brief overview. The Greater Oakland Republican Club hosted the event. Here's a brief rundown on the candidates who appeared. Kim Shoemaker is on the board now. She's a local dental hygienist, married and mother of 4 kids who attended Oxford schools. She is a well-known volunteer for many of the school's activities, including our high school robotics team. Mark Stepek is a local attorney, married with 3 children, Oxford students. Mark has been a coach, scout leader, and president of the Booster Club, among other things. Joyce Brasington is a former teacher and administrator in Oxford, working here from 1995 to 2013, ending up as an elementary school principal. She's married with 2 daughters, one an Oxford graduate. The other is a junior at Oxford High School. She's currently a principal in the Troy School District and working on her PhD at U of M. Paula Foster is married with a son at Oxford Elementary School. She has a sociology degree and has worked in Oxford as a Head Start service worker and a substitute teacher, among other things. Amy Hamilton is a nurse, manager of a medical surgical nursing unit and telemetry room at McLaren. She and her husband have 3 kids, 2 of whom are in Oxford schools. Angela Mitchell has been a board member for a few months now. She was appointed to complete the term of another board member who resigned for personal reasons. She and her family have lived here for 14 years. She is a project manager for an employee benefit company. Angela has 2 sons in our schools and has been involved in coaching and many other activities with our sports teams. Pam Phelps is a longtime local realtor who has been on the board in previous years. Mike Schwag recently retired from Oxford schools. He was a high school principal here for 15 years and in education for 29. Noah Stevens was the only candidate who wasn't at the forum. He is a 19-year-old college sophomore who graduated from Oxford High School in 2013. 8 questions were drawn out of a fishbowl at the forum. Each candidate was allowed a minute to answer each of them. We'll take a closer look after this.
Yeah!
The candidates were given a chance to sum up some of their feelings when asked the greatest concerns facing Oxford schools. Here's what they had to say.
I think that's a tough one. I think that that the policies of this school board need to be reviewed, and I think that everybody, students, administrators, faculty, and superintendent all need to be compliant with those guidelines, those rules, the policies, and I think they need to be revisited and adjusted and brought into the current times. I think also I like the policies regarding the international component of our school district, and I want to see that advanced, but I want to see it advanced in a cautious way without jumping to decisions.
We need to make sure that decisions are made based on data. If we're going to use a lot of time and energy of the employees of the district, we need to make sure it makes sense for the kids of Oxford. We also need to look at teacher contracts, administrator contracts, parapro, secretary contracts, bus driver contracts. I'm not sure with our recent situation where financially we've been able to honor all those employee groups the way they need to be. We also need to look at the whole international endeavor. I agree with Mark that it's a great, great endeavor, but needs to be implemented cautiously and slowly. And we need to make sure it makes sense for the community and the students who currently go to Oxford High School and who are going to be part of Oxford for the next 75 years if this lease does go through.
What do I believe is the biggest concern facing Oxford schools? Transparency. As a parent, I'm very concerned that board meetings have been done in special meetings, that information on agendas have not been put forth to the public, information that we need to make good decisions. So when you approach a board member, they understand where you're coming from and they can hear where your concerns are. For me, it's something that I feel is probably the number one concern and why I am up here tonight is that I have to have good faith, no matter who is on our board and where we are going in the future of Oxford, that we are all on the same page. We may not all agree on that page, but we're trying to get there together.
I think our biggest challenge is going to be making sure that our children are healthy, educated, successful. Times are different. They're different from when I was in high school. The challenges that our kids are taking, we need to make sure that we have resources in place so that we can, as a board, as parents, as teachers, as neighbors, we have resources to make sure that our children are going to be okay. We can all fool ourselves and think drugs and alcohol and all that is not part of Oxford School District. We've all had challenges. I don't want to hear about it in the paper. I don't want it to be negative, but I do want us to be honest with ourselves that we need to make sure our children are okay and they're making proper choices. And when they don't make proper choices, we have avenues to get them help, to get them the education they need, to get what needs to get done so they can be successful, because I think that's what we want for all of our children.
As a parent, one of my biggest concerns is that it doesn't always seem that everybody's on the same page or working towards the same goal. Whether it's administration, it's the superintendent, it's the board, it's the staff. And I think it appears to be a lack of communication. Human nature is if you don't have information, you make up your own story. And you make up that story and you tell two people your story, and all of a sudden that story has grown. And now we're all kind of going in a different direction, working on different information that isn't factual. I think that sharing information would help with the community perception. It would help with staff morale, and it would help the board kind of all be on the same page and work better with the administration.
Okay, well, I want to address transparency first of all. The closed meetings are held in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, and it's illegal allowing you to have a closed meeting and illegal not. And therefore, there's going to be some private talk on the school board that by law is required. Also, the school board has packets this thick about. Sometimes we need to read both sides. We can't do what the government does and just say, okay, pass it and we'll read it later. We have hours and hours of work before our school board preparing for it. I don't think the public wants to get into reading that much material to prepare for a meeting. And then when we have the meeting, I do feel like they're left out of some things because we've already read so much information in order to keep the meetings from going on and on forever. So then, when we get into the meeting, very few people are there unless there's a special event of some kind, and it's also on TV.
I think the number one concern we have in our district is morale and making people feel that they're appreciated. I spoke about my upbringing in the Upper Peninsula, a small town, because when I came here as a principal, that's what I found in Oxford. We raised our family here. My children graduated from Oxford High School. But what I've seen over the years is splintering off of groups. We need to have a better relationship with other agencies within our community. Our rec department, we need to work more closely with that. With the local newspaper, we cannot have an adversarial relationship and closing the door on reporters when they ask questions about our goings-on in terms of the board or what we're doing. Let's be open and honest. Let's get on the same page with everybody and promote Oxford first.
Pam is correct in that there are, by law, closed meetings allowed. Those are for limited purposes, however. So I think, in my answers that I gave in the packet, I have several concerns, but forthright communication with the public well in advance of major decisions is one of the things that I'm extremely concerned about. That's why I have asked for some community forums, and we will be having those Thursday and the following Monday on this upcoming International Residence Academy. I believe the more we communicate to the public in advance, you can come on the journey with us, we can get your input, you can give us new things to think about that we may not have considered because the 7S are not all-knowing. I would prefer to do that than hand you the scrapbook afterwards in an announcement. So for me, it's really about being forthright with the community, regardless of how many questions it raises.
When Oxford Superintendent Dr. William Skilling's name is mentioned, the global initiatives of the Oxford School District come to mind. Recent talk of building an international academy here has brought some local feelings to the surface. The candidates were asked to comment.
Well, I think what we're all discussing is the IB. I support it. I do. I love what I've seen it do for my children, the concepts. And my children have been experiencing the IB since I think they started 2nd grade is when my children started. My fear is where is it? It's going too fast. I think some of us commented on that. I'm not sure where it goes, and I'm not sure beyond the fact that it looks good for Oxford. I like the fact that we are globally recognized for that, but I want to make sure that it's actually the best thing for my child. I don't know how many students in high school are actually doing the IB classes. But my concern is that we haven't rolled it out in the manner in which it will truly benefit every one of the children in the district, other than the fact that we are an IB recognized school globally.
I also like the global initiatives our school has. I think there's a lot of value in some of the concepts that the kids are learning. I think that there's experiences that our kids can have now, both through learning a language and with exchange students that they might not be able to have. I had opportunities in high school and college to do overseas studies and things that now that I'm married with kids and you don't have the resources, the time, the money, to do some of those things. So I think our kids are getting some good opportunities, but I also agree that we're moving quickly. I'd like to see us stop, think through decisions, and make sure we're making decisions for the right reason and with the input of the community on the decisions.
The position of our schools right now to have this diploma is to, we are going to be recognized in the world anywhere our students would go and want to go to college, they would be recognized, that diploma would be recognized. That's really important in a case where one child went to a non-accredited college, and that diploma was not recognized by most of the state colleges, although the education she got was far better. So it's really important you need to have a mission to have that diploma recognized. Second of all, I want to say that Granholm increased the classes that students had to have just before she left office. She increased the numbers, and if you see me that I'll give you the numbers, but in science, language, and math. And I was saying at the time, there's just no way we could possibly treat all these and do all these things. That's why they moved the languages to the elementary school, because if they'd have kept them in the high school, they wouldn't have been able to get a diploma. They wouldn't be able to get their diploma if they didn't accomplish all that, and that would have ruled out, the arts and music, etc.
I think we need to continue to think globally and act locally. And what does that mean? I think we've gone on in terms of expansion internationally too fast, too furious. Oxford has not met an initiative it doesn't like. We need to focus on implementing strategic initiatives. You cannot have 50 strategic initiatives. And what I've noticed in being in the community and talking to people, the concern is as we move forward with programs that are excellent, International Baccalaureate, and expanding schools into China and Mexico and South Africa, what about the students who are going through school at that time? How much time did teachers miss because of the training that is essential and was needed for that? Those students who were here got less of an education because of those expansion projects.
The global initiatives, I think it is important that our children understand other cultures. That is not something that I took lightly. I took several students into my home. I learned a lot. I learned what it taxes our system, our classrooms, and students. So I've lived through it. I am very concerned as well that the speed of, I might call it expansion, I would say the speed of making long-term commitments that this community, many of us may not even be around for. So I'd like to see that we're going to step back and really vet all that information properly. One of my bigger concerns is we need a really clear understanding of the programs that we've put in place, what the revenue is versus the cost. I'm becoming more uncomfortable with the word revenue because I don't know the cost.
And I think that in the United States, our education system is not the world leader that it may have been in the past. And I think Oxford's attempt to try and get back into that is a great attempt. And having the international students here in the IB program, I think, is great. I also agree with Mr. Schwag about think globally, but act locally. So I think that we need to have a controlled effort and fine-tune what we're going to move forward with and make it appropriate for the kids that are here and the kids that are coming here. So I would want to go with all of the facts before we make decisions.
I was lucky enough to travel to China with one of our business partners, and it was a great experience for me to sort of see the Chinese education. And I really realize now that they all want to come here. Not many of us want to go there. So I think we need to keep that in mind, that we are actually doing them a favor by opening them our doors. I worry about a blended Chinese-American education. I want to be able to look at a World War II vet that I had at DA, and he had to remind me that the Chinese flag, the American flag I had posted, the American flag needed to be higher. You know, it's that kind of deep cultural understanding that we need to have as educators. And I worry about what happens if the funding changes for these international students. They're considering changing funding for virtual students who are not going to be worth $7,000. So what if the state of Michigan can't afford $7,000 per international student? What happens when we lose funding? I'm very, very concerned about the global initiatives.
My understanding of the IB program that we have is the number one thing we need to do is understand ourselves and understand where we fit in the world and how we go about making a difference where we live, whether that's in our community, outside of the United States, or anywhere that we go to travel. I feel that this is a very good program and we have to really have faith and give the support where it's needed to learn from where mistakes have been made, and we need to look forward to seeing where we're going to go. The colleges that appreciate the IB diploma weighs greatly on my mind. If your child decides to take that route, colleges will certainly learn and not so much learn, but they will be so open to understanding what your child's education was more including. I think it also helps with being competitive in other cultures, so when you go on to college or into the workforce, you understand if you're sitting next to other people, how they think.
And lastly, why should you vote for me? Our candidates explain.
I was on the school board for 4.5 years. I've raised 6 children, a flower arrangement, if you will, all of them different personalities and different success stories. Then I have grandchildren now in school. I'm a life coach and a business coach in my personal world. And I think I could help maybe people draw issues together here so we could collectively work together. I have worked in juvenile court, and I have worked in mentally and physically impaired people. Like I say, one of my sons is. I have a son that's a doctor of economics in Texas. He is a professor in Texas, and I have a daughter that's an opera singer, professor, hopefully close to that in New York City. And then I have construction workers and landscapers and all the beautiful things that people bring to the table when you have a collective family.
Everything I've done in my life to this point has brought me to being a school board member. And more importantly, not just a school board member, but a school board member in Oxford. I've been a teacher, a coach, an administrator, and I've worked with school boards, and I've worked with a variety of administrators. As I've looked over my career, everything I've learned I can apply to the school board and a membership on it. I feel strong that I would be working towards a consensus builder with other members of the board to bring about real change. I'm not afraid to question the status quo, and I would like to bring everyone together to look at it and look at how we're doing things and to see how we could do them better. And my final analysis, as I came to Oxford, I felt that Oxford is a school district where I'm not leaving Oxford. I'm here, but I'm worried that Oxford is leaving me.
This is the second district that I've been honored to serve as a board member, so a lot of the questions and current concerns are similar across the state. I'll just tell you, for me, I'm still under construction. I'm constantly striving to improve myself. I try to carry that into everything I do. In my heart, I'm honest in all things and avoid omission of facts. I'm diligent in fact-finding, and I'm open to all opinions, even if they differ from my own. When I make decisions, they're filtered through who I am, the facts I find, and the opinions of others. I believe that each decision should be thoroughly informed, based 100% in truth, and made out of pure motives.
When I went to law school, my mother said that I would never make it as an attorney because I was too honest. And now 28 years later, I still am. And I've learned a lot being an attorney on how to take facts and present them and come to the truth, into the reality of what's best for any given case. And I can take those skills that I've learned and apply them in taking in the facts, muddling through what becomes the truth and what it should be for the best for the students of Oxford. I think that a vote for me is going to bring my experience as an attorney to the board to be able to decipher through and make the proper decision for the students of Oxford.
You know, first and foremost, I'm a mom. I'm a good listener. I am an educator. I have a counseling background, so I know how to listen. I know how to negotiate. I understand the culture of Oxford. I've been part of it for almost 50 years. I really feel like I've come full circle that I'm able to represent you on the board. I follow a very strict moral compass. When they say people believe blue and gold, I understand what that means. I still get teary-eyed when I went to homecoming a couple weeks ago. I believe so strongly in our community. I believe strongly in our kids. And I would make every choice on the board with kids first.
I want to build trust. I want to show that we collectively work as a team. And more importantly, I think we should approach it with also a sense of humor. I truly believe that the things that we're talking about here tonight are very strong subject matters. They're very important, but we also have to understand that we're all human. I understand that most of all. I understand that I make mistakes, and I understand that other people will too. I absolutely want to listen to the concerns of the public. I will follow through with what I say. My words will lead to action. I will not be afraid to question things and stand up, even if that means I am just a voice of one. I will respect you, and I will treat you with the same type of feeling of positive energy that I hope to get back from you.
When I decided I was going to run, it was, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. And now that I sit here, I am just so happy there's so many people interested in running. I had no idea when I put my name on that ballot that there would be this many people running. And I will say that I'm happy that we're going to have some fresh voices and some new faces. What I bring to the board, I'm a mom. I'm a mom, mother of 3 children. I'm a nurse, I'm a manager, I have some business background, but most importantly, I'm a mother that cares about kids. We've all had our experiences, whether bad or good, here or there, but I think when it comes down to it, we need to know that the board that we're supposed to trust and parents are supposed to go to, that we know that will at least be heard. And that's one of the most important things is I'm non-biased, I don't have any affiliation to anyone other than our kids.
I come to this position without a personal agenda. I'm truly unbiased, which I've heard from some of you sometimes gives the perception that I'm walking the line. But in reality, I'm going into each and every situation with a clean slate, asking my questions and doing research on behalf of all parties. Please know that because I do not come out and make a strong stand on all issues, it does not mean that I do not care. I promise that I'm working behind the scenes to get the best solution for our children each and every time. Please do not mistake my open-mindedness for me being passive about this position.
This is OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford and Addison Townships with the best in local programming. On Charter Channel 191, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and our website, OCCTV.org. OCTV, we provide local programming that brings you closer to home.
Being on a school board is not an easy job. There are a lot of legalities, a lot of numbers, and a lot of details. And of course, what you vote in affects who we care about most, our kids. Thanks to Kyle Snage in the booth, Dan Zweiss at the desk, and you for watching. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
You are watching the Michigan American Legion's Station of the Year for the 5th year in a row, Oxford Community Television.